Dean Ambrose is like, I want to win the title. Seth Rollins is like, I want to win the title. Roman Reigns is like, suffering succotash. Hello there, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com and welcome to How WWE Should Have Booked, where I look back at infamous WWE missed booking opportunities and talk about how I'd book them differently because I'm a smartass. So this week we're looking at Batista's return all the way up to the dissolution of The Shield. Now this has been requested a lot. Why do people want me to rebook the ending of The Shield? It was great. It was a genuine swerve. It created 3 legitimate top stars who are all top stars still today. But alright, I'll give it a go, but this is probably going to be mostly tweaks because, well, if it ain't broke. So, Batista returned before the Royal Rumble in 2014. It was announced. Well, I say it was announced. It was supposed to be a surprise. It was leaked. Oops. So he returned, but instead of looking like the animal, he looked like a skinny jean wearing, kale smoothie drinking Hollywood asshole. Oops. He won the Royal Rumble, which WWE thought everyone would love, but it turns out the fans hated it because of this tiny bearded man. Oops. So the fans turned Batista unofficially heel and he had a fairly rubbish match with Alberto Del Rio at Elimination Chamber. So what were the Shield doing at the event? Well, they had been teasing a split for ages and they had a spat in the Royal Rumble match, Dean Ambrose trying to eliminate Roman Reigns. Then Roman Reigns eliminated Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. Then the Wyatts cost them a chance to be part of the Elimination Chamber, so they feuded with the Wyatt family, leading to a match, Wyatts versus the Shield at Elimination Chamber, which was a classic, which the Shield lost because Dean Ambrose went walkabout. Now WrestleMania 30, Batista, now officially a heel, lost to this tiny bearded man in the main event, while the Shield crushed the New Age Outlaws and Kane in a match that was very short and very pointless. So the Shield were officially anti-authority, and Triple H decided to reform Evolution to deal with this problem with Randy Orton and Batista, not Ric Flair because he was too much of a legend to turn heel and also probably too drunk. At Extreme Rules, Evolution versus the Shield won. So people were like, oh, okay, is the feud over then? And then at Payback, no, they fought again, this time in an elimination match, which the Shield won again, pitching a shutout. They eliminated all 3 members of Evolution whilst not suffering a single loss themselves. Holy daddy, oh my goodness. But then, the next night on Raw, the Shield fell apart. Seth Rollins betrayed them, smacked everyone with a steel chair, they imploded, the end of the Shield. They all go their separate ways. Rollins and Ambrose have an amazing feud, the feud of the year, and Roman Reigns goes away to be a bit boring. And that was fine. It worked. Okay, there are a few tiny problems, booking the Shield to beat Evolution twice in a row made Triple H, Batista and Randy Orton look lame. And honestly, it would probably make the Shield look better if they weren't just beating up 3 confused old men. Plus the whole Batista thing was just an absolute shambles. Batista to Boo-tista to Blue-tista to Bye-tista. Yeah, pretty rubbish. And I can do it better. Okay, so let's get Batista and the Shield to WrestleMania separately, and then we'll go from there. So, okay, Batista mode, activate! Anything happen? Oh god, I'm so alone. So we start at Batista's return. Batista returns before the Royal Rumble and he immediately allies himself with Triple H like that. The 2 guys are incredibly chummy. He's all Hollywood and Triple H is all business, ha ha ha, isn't this best for business? Batista comes back and says, Triple H, I owe you everything, because Evolution, you're the greatest. And Triple H is like, no, you're the animal. You're one of the biggest stars. They call each other Paul and Dave. It's really horrible. And that immediately turns Batista heel, which everyone sort of wanted because he's a Hollywood star returning, and unless you're The Rock, you can't really get away with that shit. So Batista goes into the Royal Rumble already as an entitled, overprivileged heel. His whole thing is, I remember when this company was full of real men. What are all these small dudes running around? Like his motivation was when he actually turned heel. So he goes to the Royal Rumble, he gets down to the final 4 after eliminating, small guys like, say, Kofi Kingston, Rey Mysterio, proving his dominance over the weaker guys, until he eventually gets eliminated by Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan. That's all part of a separate video. Watch it. Watch all of my videos. Send me presents! So Batista is incensed he got beaten by a small guy and goes on a rampage, just attacking everyone who's under 6'5". But who's his opponent for Elimination Chamber? Who hates the authority? You can carry anyone to a good match? Dolph Ziggler. That's right, he gives Dolph a prison beating on Raw, which leads to a match between the two men, which goes a good 15 minutes. Ziggler carries him to a great match, and he beats him with the Batista Bomb. 1, 2, 3. So, Batista is on his way to WrestleMania. Now remember what happened after Elimination Chamber? Brock Lesnar declared himself the #1 contender to the World Heavyweight title, and when the match didn't happen, he murdered the New Age Outlaws on TV. Seriously, look at these old men fly. Whee! Whee! Brock Lesnar is going crazy. He's going after Triple H's guys. Well, what about Triple H's #1 guy? What about the Animal? So Batista comes out and he's like, well, finally, a real man. And the match is set. The Animal versus the Beast. And hey, it's a match we haven't seen before. So the WrestleMania card is Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton for the title. That makes sense. Instead of Brock, John Cena fights The Undertaker. That makes sense. And it's Brock versus Batista. They have a massive slugfest, but in the end, Brock Lesnar overcomes Batista. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's Batista taken care of. Now, Shield mode, activate! What is my life? So the Shield have pretty much the same Rumble, but because Bray Wyatt is going to be busy with Daniel Bryan at Elimination Chamber, watch that other video and send me presents. So instead, the Shield go into the Elimination Chamber match itself, and the tensions are still there. Dean Ambrose is like, I want to win the title. Seth Rollins is like, I want to win the title. Roman Reigns is like, suffering succotash. So the Elimination Chamber match is those three guys, plus John Cena, Cesaro, and the champion Randy Orton. And in the match itself, the Shield are actually working on the same page. They give everyone triple power bombs, puts their fists in the middle, then suddenly, is that how the Wyatt thing looks? I don't know. Just edit it to look good, or just leave it like this and leave me looking stupid. It's really up to you, Sam. You're the video editor. You have the power over my entire dignity. Too much power. So the lights go out, and when the lights come back up, the Wyatt family are in the chamber with them, and they're like, oh, dip. They fight, and everyone's like, holy crap. The Wyatt family and the Shield are fighting, and they give each of the members of the Shield their own finisher. So all the Shield members are down, the Wyatt family disappear. They just walk out of the chamber, or whatever, they disappear in darkness. Then Cesaro, Randy Orton, and John Cena each cover a Shield member, triple pin, 1, 2, 3. The Shield are gone in one go. Everyone's like, oh man. So of course, the match is set at WrestleMania for the first time ever, Wyatt family versus the Shield, and everyone is pumped. The Wyatt family put in a good showing, but unfortunately they can't quite hang with the Shield, and the Shield win, looking amazing. Then we get pretty much the same booking as we did. The Shield are now really pissed off because it turns out that Triple H paid Bray Wyatt to attack them. You know, the devil made me do it, man. Why didn't dance with the poetry and the come down, man? Smoke. And when we get very similar kind of results, you know, Triple H using his power to make the Shield outnumbered at every opportunity, and we get Evolution versus the Shield at Extreme Rules, but Evolution win via shenanigans. And why? Well, because after WrestleMania, Orton needed a win, Batista needed a win, Triple H shouldn't lose that often. So yeah, Evolution are made to look like the powerful old badasses that they used to be. So then obviously because the heels won, the feud continues over to Payback with the same elimination stipulation. And this time again, the Shield pitch a shutout, which is made even more impressive considering the fact they lost the last match. The Shield look amazing. Then the next night on Raw, Seth Rollins betrays them, and that's the Shield over and done with. And honestly, there is no better way to break up the Shield that I can think of, because Dean Ambrose, he turned out to be an amazing babyface, even though everyone thought he was going to be a heel. Same with Seth Rollins. He had the babyface flying offense, but he turned out to be an amazing heel. And Roman Reigns, well, you know, he's a powerhouse. He just needed better booking. People complain that the Shield was taken apart too soon. They weren't. They lasted well over a year and a half. They did everything they could. They got the tag titles. They, you know, held all the gold, which a stable always has to do at some point. They beat everybody. They beat all the top guys. And there was nothing really left for them to do. But they quit the Shield before the fans realized that. Before the fans got sick and tired of what the Shield does, they broke them apart, which leaves people wanting more, which will forever cement them as one of the greatest tag team stables of all time. And then you get Rollins and Ambrose, which is amazing. And then if you book Roman Reigns better, he can become the face of the company. So that's how WWE should have booked the return of Batista to the breakup of The Shield. Do you disagree? Tell me about it in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and you can even follow me on Twitter. Here, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.